Yeah.
All right.
When did you decide being a mechanic would be what you would want to have that as your job?
Oh, that's a good question. As a kid, I always was tinkering with motorcycles and whatnot, and loved I was fascinated with with the way things worked, pistons and gears and whatnot, chains and sprockets, machines, things that move under their own power and whatnot, and what it takes to with gasoline and a mixture of air and fuel and whatnot. How it's just amazing how it just always intrigued me as a kid. So anyhow, long story short, I got out of graduated from Father Ryan High School, and I got out of there not knowing what to do, and my daddy mentioned something maybe about the military, so I checked out the Marines and got to talking to them, and they said, yeah, there's always room for a good a motor pool mechanic, teach you how to work on tanks and jeeps and stuff. And so I jumped right all in there with both feet, and as it turns out, I didn't get to do that. I wound up being in the infantry. But anyhow, once I got out, I went they were having a tour over at the Nashville Area Vocational Technical School over in Nashville off of White Bridge Road. They were having a tour one day, and my cousin and I, his name's John, we together went over there, and I asked him, I said, John, what do you want to do? He said, I'm thinking machine shop. And I said, well, that sounds pretty good. So the whole group of people went from one section of the building to the other, masonry, cosmetology, welding, and machine shop. And we got to the machine shop, and I was okay with it, but we happened to walk by the classroom where it was the mechanic shop, automotive stuff. So, and this is the truth. I peered through this little glass window, and I saw this guy with this air hose and this air ratchet, I guess it was, making ratchet. And it was, I swear, it was like a bolt of lightning hitting me dead in the forehead, and that answered all my questions, and that's the God honest truth. It was unbelievable. I'm getting chill bumps just thinking about it. But that was it for me. That was it. I said, John, you can have all that machine shop stuff you want. I said, right there on that hood of that car where that boy is, that's where I'm going to be. And I've been there ever since.
That's awesome.
That's the truth.
What's one of the hardest things about being a mechanic?
The hardest things physically is busting knuckles, sore hands, your back, leaning over those cars. That is aggravating, especially if you work in a shop with no AC. It can get very hot. You'll have to tie a fan to your butt working on the hot engines. But wintertime, same thing. If you don't have the right equipment to exhaust all the exhaust fumes out of the shop, you'll get sick and headaches and whatnot. But the hardest thing, not only physical, is trying to keep up with today's technology.
Yeah.
When I first started out 35 years ago, it was carburetors.
Oh, yeah.
Kids nowadays don't even know what a carburetor is. Now everything's fuel injected and computer controlled. You got a computer that's opening and closing an injector to make this engine get its exact amount of fuel. Back in the day, you had to play with linkages and accelerator pumps and everything to try to keep this thing on the road,
And they're doing that on dirt bikes too, like taking out the carburetor.
Exactly, same thing. That motorcycle I just drove up on, it's fuel injected now, and everything's got a computer that controls this and that, and sensors everywhere. There was no sensors back in the day. Everything was mechanical back in the day.
All right. What's one of the most interesting or cool things that you've gotten to do or that's happened as a mechanic?
I tell you, there's been many things that's been very cool. Well, one of the coolest things I've ever done was myself and my son Jake actually put in the engine. This guy had a blown engine on one of these airboats that you see down in the Everglades, goes on land and or water or wherever this thing will go. The engine on this thing was so powerful. You just hit the throttle and it sucked the clothes off your back. Hang on, here it comes, and you're gone. I mean, it's crazy. We were driving around in the hayfield one day. You know, that was amazing. We was in the hayfield. Oh Lord, it was crazy. 45-mile-an-hour across land in a doggone airboat boat. But that was one of the coolest things. To take something that the coolest thing of, and it happens all the time. People bring cars in with blown engines, and people just going to throw the car away, or there's no hope for that machine anymore. But it's very, very gratifying to take something that is nothing more than a pile of junk and either repair that engine or put a new engine in or whatever it takes to get this thing back on the road. And my driveway is, all my kids are driving vehicles from ones that, that Sequoia I got. The guy blew the engine up. He didn't want it. He said, that thing on. So I got it, and now it's like a brand new car. So basically, taking something that's dead and bring life back to it, very gratifying. And it's just it's hard to pick between all of them, but it's really cool to be able to cruise down the road in something that was never going to cruise again.
Well, I'll just go.